Dust billowed, swirling in the air like a ghostly shroud, a prelude to the storm that was about to descend upon the ancient world. 1,000 hooves pounded the earth, each beat a thunderous declaration of power and conquest, shaking the very foundations of the land. Alexander the Great, astride his mighty steed Bucephalus, entered Babylon, the jewel of Mesopotamia. His presence was a force of nature, commanding respect and awe from all who beheld him. He was 25, a god-king, undefeated in battle, his legend already etched into the annals of history. His youth belied the wisdom and ferocity that had led him to countless victories. Behind him marched the finest army the world had ever seen, a disciplined and loyal force, their armor gleaming under the harsh sun, their spirits unbreakable. The air vibrated with the cheers of the crowd and the clang of armor. The people of Babylon, both fearful and hopeful, welcomed their new ruler with a mixture of reverence and trepidation. Alexander, his eyes burning with ambition, drank in the spectacle. His gaze was intense, filled with dreams of further conquests and the unification of the known world under his banner. Babylon, with its towering walls and magnificent ziggurat, would be another jewel in his crown. The city's grandeur was a testament to the civilizations that had come before, now to be part of his ever-expanding empire. He had conquered Persia, humbled Egypt. Each victory had been a stepping stone, a testament to his strategic genius and the might of his army. Now he stood at the crossroads of the world where East met West, a nexus of cultures, trade, and power. This was the heart of his empire, the center of his ambitions. The treasures of the East lay before him, ripe for the taking. Gold, spices, silks, and knowledge, all would flow into his coffers, enriching his empire and fueling his dreams of further conquests. But destiny, Alexander knew, was a fickle mistress. Despite his triumphs, he was acutely aware of the fragile nature of power and the ever-present specter of mortality. His journey was far from over, and the path ahead was fraught with challenges yet to be faced. Babylon was a city of splendor and shadow. Its grandeur was unmatched, with towering ziggurats and lush hanging gardens that seemed to touch the heavens. Yet, beneath this veneer of magnificence, a darker underbelly thrived. Its streets teemed with merchants, priests, and courtesans. The marketplace was a cacophony of sounds and colors, where exotic goods from distant lands were traded, and the air was thick with the scent of spices and incense. Every corner of the city buzzed with life and activity. Gold flowed freely, but intrigue lurked in every corner. In the shadowy alleyways, deals were struck in whispers, and the clinking of gold coins often masked sinister plots. Wealth and power were the currencies of the day, and trust was a rare commodity. Alexander, ever the astute judge of character, felt the undercurrent of resentment. He was a conqueror, but also a keen observer of human nature. He could sense the unease among the people, the whispers of discontent that followed him like a shadow. Darius III, the Persian king, may have been vanquished, but his loyalists remained. These warriors, battle-worn and hardened, were not easily swayed. They harbored a deep-seated loyalty to their fallen king, and a burning desire for revenge. They whispered in the shadows, plotting rebellion against the young conqueror. In dimly lit rooms, away from prying eyes, they conspired to overthrow Alexander, to reclaim their lost glory. Their plans were shrouded in secrecy, their resolve unyielding. Alexander, however, was not a man to be trifled with. His reputation as a formidable warrior and a brilliant strategist preceded him. He was always prepared, always one step ahead of his enemies. His determination was as unbreakable as his will to conquer. He immersed himself in Babylonian culture, adopting their customs and offering sacrifices to their gods. He understood that to rule effectively, he needed to win the hearts and minds of the people. He participated in their rituals, showing respect for their traditions and beliefs. He knew that to rule these people he had to understand them, to win their hearts and minds. He engaged with the citizens, listened to their concerns, and addressed their needs. His empathy and willingness to embrace their culture endeared him to many, solidifying his rule over the city of splendor and shadow. The drums of war sounded, echoing across the vast plains, a harbinger of the monumental clash that was about to unfold. News arrived that Darius had assembled a vast army, determined to crush the Macedonian upstart. The Persian forces, a sea of soldiers, stretched as far as the eye could see, their numbers seemingly endless. The two forces met on the plains of Gaugamela, a place destined to be etched in the annals of history. The tension was palpable. the air thick with anticipation and the scent of impending bloodshed. The fate of the world hung in the balance, as the Macedonian and Persian armies prepared for a confrontation that would determine the future of empires. Alexander, outnumbered but not outmatched, surveyed the battlefield with an eagle eye. His mind raced with strategies, his heart steeled for the challenge ahead. He knew that victory would hinge on his ability to exploit the Persians' weakness, their unwieldy size and reliance on chariots. With a keen understanding of his enemy, Alexander devised a plan that would turn the tide in his favor. The battle raged for hours, a relentless storm of steel and flesh. The clash of swords and the cries of warriors filled the air, a symphony of chaos and valor. Persian arrows darkened the sky, a deadly rain that sought to break the Macedonian lines. Yet, the Macedonian soldiers held firm, their resolve unshaken. Macedonian shields clashed against Persian spears, the sound of metal on metal a testament to the ferocity of the combat. Each side fought with unwavering determination, neither willing to yield. The ground ran red with the blood of heroes, a grim reminder of the cost of glory. The fallen lay as silent witnesses to the epic struggle that unfolded around them. Through it all, Alexander remained a beacon of hope, his courage inspiring his men. His presence on the battlefield was a rallying point, a symbol of unwavering strength and leadership. Seeing an opportunity, Alexander launched a daring cavalry charge, aimed directly at Darius himself. The Persian king, his nerve failing him, fled the field. The sight of their leader abandoning them demoralized the Persian army. Victory was swift and decisive. Gaugamela cemented Alexander's reputation as a military genius. He had conquered the greatest empire the world had ever known. The riches of Persia were his, but his thirst for conquest was far from quenched. Alexander settled into his new role as ruler of Babylon. He surrounded himself with scholars, artists, and philosophers. The palace echoed with music, laughter, and intellectual debate. Yet, behind the facade of merriment, a darkness brewed. The whispers started subtly. Rumors of omens, of ancient prophecies foretelling Alexander's downfall. The Macedonian king, though outwardly dismissive, couldn't help but feel a prickle of unease. Were the gods testing him? He had always believed himself to be descended from Achilles, favored by Zeus. But what if the gods were fickle? What if his destiny was not to rule the world, but to be destroyed by it? Despite his growing unease, Alexander continued his conquests. He pushed east, seeking to reach the ends of the known world. He fought with his usual ferocity, but a shadow seemed to have fallen over him. He had become obsessed with the idea of his own divinity. He demanded to be worshipped as a god, his every whim indulged. His companions, once loyal to a fault, began to question his sanity. Was this the same man who had once been so humble, so driven? The end came swiftly, unexpectedly. After a night of heavy drinking, Alexander was struck by a fever. His robust constitution, which had withstood countless battles and hardships, betrayed him. As his body weakened, so too did his grip on his empire. His generals, their ambitions now unleashed, gathered around his deathbed, each vying for a piece of the empire. Alexander, his voice a raspy whisper, could only watch helplessly as his life's work began to unravel. Alexander the Great, conqueror of the known world, died at the age of 32. His empire, vast and powerful, was torn apart by his ambitious generals. His dream of a united world under Macedonian rule died with him. But what if he had lived? What if fate had granted him a few more years? Would he have achieved his ultimate goal? Or was his empire, like the man himself, destined to burn bright but brief? The answer, lost to the sands of time, continues to tantalize historians and dreamers alike.